How are you? I'm glad to meet you. Today's topic is the genealogy of Jesus Christ, Chapter 1. The author is Abraham Park. A study of biblical genealogies. The history of redemption proceeds according to God's decrees. Its central themes are the creation, the fall, and salvation. God's boundless love and profound providence can be found in each of these themes. Covenants were ratified between God and men based on his decrees, and redemptive history continued on the basis of those covenants. The genealogies that appear in the Bible are summarized records of the eternal covenants that God has established with man. Thus, studying the genealogies will lead to profound insights that penetrate through the entire history of redemption. The biblical genealogies have purpose and content that are distinct from secular genealogies in that they are intimately related to God's history of redemption. The most important element in a genealogy is the names. Thus, a study of the redemptive historical meanings of the names in the biblical genealogies is imperative. The study of biblical genealogies will become the foundational basis for the study of Jesus Christ's genealogy. Furthermore, the study can serve as a foundation upon which the promise of the eternal covenant in God's profound providence can be abundantly displayed. In this section, we will examine the significance of biblical genealogies, their distinctive features, and their relationships with the history of redemption. The significance of genealogies. Before we embark upon the study of the third period of Jesus Christ's genealogy in the Gospel of Matthew, we will first review the significance of genealogies. The first topic of discussion will be the general and biblical significances of genealogies and an overview of various genealogies in the Bible. General significance of genealogies. A genealogy is a record that charts out the patrilineal descent of a clan that originates from a single ancestor. Moreover, a genealogy explains the path of the generations in a way that is easy to understand. Furthermore, it is a family's historical account that reveals the origins of the clan while honoring its blood descent and lineal succession. In the same way that a nation has the annals or records of its national history, a family or a clan has a family genealogy. The nation of Korea was even considered by some to be the originator of genealogies because of their high regard for genealogies since ancient times. Especially during the Joseon era, bearing a son to continue the patrilineal succession of the family was an important task for a wedded couple. A son was regarded as the pillar that upholds the family. For a woman, not being able to give birth to a son after getting married into a family was deemed to be one of the 7 valid causes for divorce. Some families adopted sons to become their heirs or even used surrogate mothers to beget sons. As one can see from past generations, the people of Korea respected their ancestry and treasured the genealogy that recorded their lineage. It was through the genealogy that descendants learned to respect their ancestors. Moreover, proper hierarchical order was established through the genealogy, fostering peace and unity in the family. They considered the genealogy a sacred reference book that contains the spirits of their forefathers. Consequently, some families showed respect to their forefathers by placing the genealogy book on a table with a bowl of pure water next to it and bowing down to it as though they were bowing down to their forefathers. Koreans treasured genealogies to such an extent that the genealogy book was the first thing people secured when a fire broke out in the house. Those who brought shame to the family name were removed from the genealogy. Hence, the threat to blot out one's name from the genealogy was the most humiliating statement that could be uttered to a person. Also, in choosing marriage partners, families scrutinized the genealogy of the potential spouse in order to prevent a promiscuous marriage or intermarriage. The Bible testifies that the Jewish people also had high regard for genealogies for thousands of years. A genealogy is a summarized record of ancestral history. Frequent occurrences of expressions such as "my fathers," Genesis chapter 47 verse 9, indicate that genealogies were an important aspect of the culture. Each of the tribes of Israel possessed genealogies in which kinships were recorded, Ezra chapter 2 verse 594. In the census taken of the Israelites after the Exodus, the verses that record the number of people in each tribe repeatedly use the phrase, their genealogical registration by their families, by their fathers' households, Numbers chapter 1 verse 20. In Hebrew, this phrase is, Toledotum lemisfahodum lebet abatam. Translated literally, it means, a genealogy recorded according to their kinsfolk and fathers' household, or generations. In this manner, the Israelites had their own ancestry by tribe and familial lineage, Numbers chapter 1 verse 18. And the distribution of the inheritance among the 12 tribes was also carried out, according to their families, Joshua chapter 13 verse 15. The Israelites, even until the 1st century, were able to accurately preserve an amazingly complete genealogy. The Jewish historian Josephus writes that in the case of the priests, the genealogies were strictly managed so that it contained lists of high priests over a period of 2,000 years. Contra Appionum Volume 1 verse 35. Jesus Christ's genealogy recorded in Luke chapter 3 is clear evidence that the Jewish people had meticulously preserved their genealogies, even after they had returned from captivity in Babylon. Ezra and Nehemiah thoroughly reviewed, supplemented, and organized their genealogies, Nehemiah chapter 13. In this manner, the Bible assigns great importance to the genealogies. This is because, since Adam's fall, God's plan of redemption to send the Savior into this world and save the sinners unfolded and was fulfilled through the line of descent in the genealogies. Biblical significance of genealogies. In general, genealogies in the Bible reveal lineages that are passed down from the ancestors. They are sequential records of individual descent or relationships among groups such as families, clans, tribes, or race. The meaning of the word genealogy in the original language. The following are a few examples of words that mean genealogy in the original language. Yahaz. Yahaz means to be enrolled by genealogy. Thus, the word is used for general genealogies which list only names, especially for genealogies kept by individual tribes when a census was taken. 1 Chronicles chapter 4 verse 33. When we examine the usage of the word Yahaz in 1 Chronicles chapter 9 verse 1, the New American Standard Bible translates as, all Israel was enrolled by genealogies, whereas the New International Version translates, all Israel was listed in the genealogies. Finally, the English Standard Version translates, all Israel was recorded in genealogies. Thus, Yahaz, or to be enrolled by genealogy, not only means that the descent and the number of the members of the 12 tribes have been confirmed, but that they have been acknowledged as God's chosen people. Furthermore, it means that they have been enrolled in the genealogy of the covenant people. Unlike Yahaz, which was mainly used when listing the enrolled names, a Toledot also recorded brief accounts of events associated with the names. Toledot, which is variously translated as account, generations, deeds, according to their birth, records of the generations, or throughout all generations, originates from the word yalad, which means to beget. Thus, Toledot is used to mean birth, or order of birth, Exodus chapter 6 verse 16, according to their generations, and in many cases, it is also used to mean generations. The word Toledotum, which is translated as their genealogical registration, in Numbers chapter 1 verse 22, is the masculine third-person plural form of the word Toledot. and when translated accurately means their generations. In this case, there is the premise of one ancestor and the emphasis that the descendants came from him. Numbers chapter 1 verse 20. In other words, the Toledot reveals the genealogy of the person at the starting point, clearly showing how God will work through the descendants and how he will lead his work of redemption through certain descendants. Furthermore, Toledot is not only used in the narrow sense to refer to birth or generations, but also in a broader sense as a summarized record of the lives and deeds of the people who were born. Ruth chapter 4 verse 18. Thus, a Toledot is not a genealogy that merely lists names, but a genealogy that selectively includes accounts with redemptive historical significance. Ultimately, the Toledot shows how God's history of redemption unfolded, from the beginning of mankind to the coming of Jesus Christ, and which descendants carried it forward. Genesis. The Greek word Genesis, meaning genealogy, also means birth, origin, and beginning. Matthew chapter 1 verse 1. The record of the genealogy of Jesus the Messiah, the son of David, the son of Abraham. Matthew chapter 1 verse 18. Now the birth of Jesus Christ was as follows. The Hebrew counterpart for the Greek word Genesis is Toledot. It originates from the word genao, meaning beget, and shows that the genealogy records the birth of the ancestors from a redemptive historical perspective. Genealogia. Genealogia is a combination of the word genia, meaning generations, or family, and the word logos, meaning the word. Thus, genealogia means family record. This word appears twice in the Bible. In 1 Timothy chapter 1 verse 4 and Titus chapter 3 verse 9, and refers to a worldly genealogy created by rabbis who like to embellish things. 1 Timothy chapter 1 verse 4, nor to pay attention to myths and endless genealogies, which give rise to mere speculation rather than furthering the administration of God which is by faith. Titus chapter 3 verse 9. But avoid foolish controversies and genealogies and strife and disputes about the law, for they are unprofitable and worthless. The genealogies in the Bible. The Bible is the history of a holy genealogy, which in eager anticipation of the seed of the woman begins with the family of Adam and Eve and continues on by preserving the godly lineage. Malachi chapter 2 verse 15. The Bible contains many genealogies in various forms, and the following is a summary of a few important ones. The Genesis genealogies. The book of Genesis contains 10 genealogies which summarize God's extensive history of redemption. For this reason, the book of Genesis earns the nickname Book of Genealogies. The 10 genealogies alternate between genealogies which enumerate names, Genesis chapter 5 verse 1, and genealogies which record history in a narrative format, Genesis chapter 2 verse 4. These 10 genealogies appear to be separated, but are actually connected as one. As one genealogy ends, the next one begins immediately after it. Each of the themes of the genealogies come together to form the overall theme of the book of Genesis. Genesis chapter 5 verse 1 begins with, "This is the book of the generations of Adam," and the words, "book of the generations," is, Sefer Toledot, and means, book of genealogies. This shows that the genealogy which appears in Genesis chapter 5 is not merely a list of names, but a book that encapsulates God's administration in the vast history of redemption. The following is a summary of the 10 Toledot which appear in Genesis. 1. The genealogy of the heavens and the earth. Genesis chapter 2 verse 4. This is the account of the heavens and the earth when they were created. 2. The genealogy of Adam's generations. Genesis chapter 5 verse 1. This is the book of the generations of Adam. 3. The genealogy of Noah's family. Genesis chapter 6 verse 9. These are the records of the generations of Noah. 4. The genealogy of Noah's sons. Genesis chapter 10 verse 1. Now these are the records of the generations of Shem, Ham, and Japheth, the sons of Noah. 5. The genealogy of Shem. Genesis chapter 11 verse 10. These are the records of the generations of Shem. 6. The genealogy of Terah, Abraham. Genesis chapter 11 verse 27. Now these are the records of the generations of Terah. 7. The genealogy of Ishmael. Genesis chapter 25 verse 12. Now these are the records of the generations of Ishmael, Abraham's son. 8. The genealogy of Isaac. Genesis chapter 25 verse 19. Now these are the records of the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. 9. The genealogy of Esau. Genesis chapter 36 verse 1. Now these are the records of the generations of Esau, that is, Edom. 10. The genealogy of Jacob. Genesis chapter 37 verse 2. These are the records of the generations of Jacob. The author of this book is Abraham Park. Abraham Park was an acclaimed world-class theologian with remarkable pastoral spirituality. He had dedicated his entire life to prayer and the scriptures, having read the Bible over 1,800 times. Throughout his lifetime ministry, he was a true pastor who loved the church and the congregation like his own children. His daily schedule consisted of 2-hour prayers and 3-hour Bible readings, as well as continual preaching and evangelizing. With conviction that to die is to live, he did his best in his prayer life to God for 3 years, 6 months and 7 days in the deep mountains. When the sun set, he did nothing but pray. When the sun rose, he did nothing but read the Bible. Then, finally, a single ray of grace shone upon him. Throughout the powerful illumination of the Holy Spirit and by the grace of God, the scenes in the Bible unfolded like a panorama before his eyes. These scenes were written down on large arrowroot leaves which were bound with a twig. They were later transcribed onto paper bought from a village under the mountain every few months. This is how Abraham Park's sermons began. Many people are impressed by the Abraham Park as follows. How can a person love so many people? How can a person make such a big impact to so many people? He is so hardworking, never rest. He never ceased to pray. He deserves to be truly honored for his dedication for the church and the congregations. A true and faithful worker of God.